to the Madsen Shooting Academy podcast. If you're a clay target shooter, then we have what you're looking for. Speaking with some of the best in the industry about the game you're passionate about. Subscribe to the Clay Lab on YouTube and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or your favorite podcast platform. The Madsen Shooting Academy podcast is brought to you by Castellani USA, Greenwood Custom Stocks, and Ranger Eyewear. Here's your host, Cody Madsen of Madsen Shooting Academy.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Madsen Shooting Academy podcast. Got a guest on this evening from Texas. I have Miss Laurie Daniel on. Laurie is currently Lady World Cup champ in FITASC. She's ranked 10th right now. She owns Westside Sporting Grounds, is a grandmother to 9 grandchildren, and is a fierce competitor. So I want to have Laurie tell her story and how she got to where she is today. So Laurie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Cody. It's good to see you. Great to be here.
Oh, I'm excited to have you on. I was hoping to connect with you at Seminole Cup. I saw you, but we didn't get the chance to sit down and record this. So how was your Seminole Cup experience?
Well, it's Seminole Cup experience was good. John does a great job, along with Big Mike and Wheeler and those guys. You can really see how much they've done to the club over the years and put a lot of thought into it. Do you shoot that a lot? They had switched a lot of the events around, so we weren't shooting the same events in the same place, which was nice. It is my first tournament typically of the year, so I kind of use it as my baseline.
Yeah.
I had really good moments and not so really great moments, but I put my list of what I need to work on in my phone, and there's always a list. And
there's always a list.
So I am getting ready to work on the list. I got 4 hours with Cade Facey tomorrow. And
good deal.
Yeah. So we're going to go over the list and start knocking out some stuff so I can get ready for Gator.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, for the folks that don't know you, where is home?
Home is Katy, Texas. I actually grew up in Houston. My dad worked for Shell, so we moved to Houston when I was 11, and it was the 7th place I had lived, but we finally stopped moving, and this is really what I call home.
Wow.
Yeah. And so the kids grew up here. Dan and I have 3 children between the two of us, and we moved out to the what we call the farm, which is Westside Sporting Grounds. We moved out here in 2011 and never looked back. Absolutely love it out here.
Wow. Well, I have been there, and it is a spectacular facility. The oaks, I know it's in your logo, but they are pretty breathtaking. And so tell folks a little bit about what Westside does and what y'all offer there.
Westside is a members-only club, and we have owned it since 1996. We do a ton of corporate and charity events. So we did the Texas State back in 2017 and decided that really wasn't our niche. And we do such a great job with the corporate events because we're part of the oil field is so big here.
Sure.
So, our corporate events are up to 700 shooters, which is bigger than most big shoots.
That is wild. How do you run 700 people through on a charity shoot?
Well, it takes a lot of planning and a lot of process planning, and we do a great job. About 4 years ago, we hired Tony Liberta, and I don't know if you know Steve Liberta. He's part of the Carlisle group that teaches.
Yes, and I know Steve.
Yeah, okay. He's Halen's coach, and he was Cade's coach. Anyway, we hired Tony to take over for me, and she's just the best. So I take no credit for that anymore. I left 4 years ago to start shooting for fun, and she does all of the events, 2 to 3 a week. And everybody loves her, and she does a great job. So
Wow. Yeah, you got
yeah,
to be highly organized to
yeah,
get all those ducks in a row for that many people.
yeah. So we do
Wow.
have that. We've got 3 courses. We've got a charity, kind of an intermediate, and then an advanced course. Let's see, the 2 of the courses have 4 traps each, which is great. We've got a 130-foot tower,
Wow.
and we just bought an 80-foot lift. And then we're looking at some of the man lifts, kind of the ones that it's just a single man lift that maybe will change a light bulb in a church or in a school or
Sure.
something. So we're retrofitting those to put a trap on so that we can move them around and have, we don't have any terrain. We're flat as a pool table. So
Yeah.
we have to go up. And so there's a lot of process going on to get that going, which is great. The innovation. So,
Yeah. Well, you got to get creative,
that,
right? When
gotta get creative. And then we've got
yeah.
two 5 stands. Apparently, we are building a skeet field, which I just found out.
Wow.
So, which is great. And we have a Helice field.
Oh,
So,
cool.
a lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure sounds like it. Now you
Yeah.
mentioned private membership. So is that capped? Are you still accepting new members, or what's that look like?
We're still accepting new members. You can come out for a lesson anytime with somebody who's certified to be here as an instructor, and then you can come out and have an event. And one of the things we extended, there are a lot of kids that come down here from A&M, from
Oh,
the
okay.
from the skeet and trap team, and they're about an hour and 10 minutes away. So what we did is we just invented a student membership, so the kids can join for $20. It's just for the student. It's not family, moms, dads. It's just for the student, and they have a credit card on file, and they can just come shoot. And so we see a lot of the A&M kids here on
That's
the
great.
weekends, which is really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, well, having been to Westside, it is a fantastic, training ground. You offer such a wide variety of targets there that I have no doubt that they would love to come train there, and got everything from mild to wild, as I like to say.
There it is.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely. I like it.
yeah, yeah. So you mentioned going out with some instructors that are, allowed to be there. So you yourself are starting to get into some coaching. Tell me a little more about that.
Yeah. When I was back running the club, we went ahead and Dan and I got our level 2 certification just because, and I was teaching more back then because I was here all the time. But now I'm realizing when I'm not competing, I really have time to teach. I live in this beautiful setting, and it just seems like a natural progression to my shooting life. Um, I'd love to introduce people to the sport, and I think I can help people who want to start competing, and even competitors who need just a little extra help or just another set of eyeballs on something. And I think sometimes women being introduced to the sport prefer being taught by another woman. And I have helped women who have been invited to bird hunts and help them understand what that looks like. Because sometimes they're like, I have no idea what I'm doing and what do I wear and what do I need to know? What gun, what ammo, what's the etiquette, the gear, all that. So I
Yeah,
think I
you can
can,
put them at ease with that.
yeah. So I
That's
think
great.
I can be helpful. And as you know, after nationals, there's just sort of that period of time where we all want to go back to our houses and don't see anybody. That's a
Yeah,
long time, after we've all been together for 9 months, all of a sudden there's, 2.5, 3 months where it's a great time to
yeah,
fill, with teaching and
exactly.
studying and teaching.
Oh
So
yeah. So kind of going backwards from you, deciding to coach and being a competitor. I mean, you're really a world competitor. I mean, you go all over and shoot. How did you get your intro? How did you get your start into it?
actually, I always loved to shoot, and I was pretty good at it. When I picked it up, it felt like the most natural thing I'd ever done in my life was to shoot a
Wow.
gun. Isn't that funny?
That is funny.
And so at the time, I'm raising a family. And as you know, when you're raising a family, there's just no time to go out and compete and do all the things. But when I could, and when we were out here on the weekends, I would shoot. So fast forward to, you remember when all the guys went over to Dubai
Yes.
and Clay Shooting USA or Clay Shooting Magazine did a whole story in the magazine about that. And I kept going through it and going through it. And I just said, I want to do this. I really, really want to do this. And so um, I realized that my skills were, I knew that I didn't know what I didn't know. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yes.
And that my skills set was not going to work for shooting, not only competitively, but going, around the world to shoot. And at the time, I was working with a really great guy from the UK, Henry Hopking, who was the brain training company. And he said, if you want to do this, I've got the coach for you. And it was Will Fennell. And so Henry came over from England to Will's, and I flew from Texas to Will's, and the three of us met. And I said, I really want to do this. I really want to get this going and see if I can do this. So I mean, talk about jumping in the deep end feet first.
Yeah.
But it has been an amazing journey. And actually the first 2 years that we went to Europe, I went to the UK first, and then we went to France because the World English was at Churchill, and then we flew to France, and the World FITASC was the next weekend. The next year was England, and it may have been, I guess just the World FITASC was in England. That was what it was. But both of those times, it just Dan and I went, and it was Will had gone, I think, almost every year overseas, but those first 2 years I went, he didn't go. So, but I was able to text and to write things down, and it just sort of started. It kind of started from there, and then of course
Wow.
COVID hit, so that was a whole different. That's a whole different story. But once it came back, we started traveling again and went to Fujairah, which was wild. The first Fujairah in January 2023, and then we've been to Hungary and Italy and England, and this year we're going to England and Cyprus for the
Wow.
World FITASC. So I am extremely blessed to be able to do this. And I have an extremely loving husband that lets me do that.
Well, it is a balance, right?
Yeah. And, but I couldn't, in terms of having the confidence and the ability to go over and really compete. Will Fennell has really been the guy that has helped me build confidence and build a really, really solid foundation for my shooting. And I'm very grateful for it. And I look forward to many more years.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
we both have a big debt of gratitude to Will.
Yeah.
He's helped us both tremendously, and
Yeah.
big shout out to Will. We appreciate you and love you. And you mentioned you were working with Henry Hopking, and you obviously had gotten your skill to a fairly proficient place in that. But what was the main decision to seek out a coach? I mean, obviously, is it just wanting to do better, or feel like you needed to prepare, or just needed guidance? What would you describe it?
Kind of going back to when I said earlier, I just knew I didn't know what I didn't know. And I felt like there had to be a way that I could learn a technique that would allow me to tackle any presentation, anywhere and be successful at it, as long as I did all the right things. That
Right.
still gets a little dicey
Well,
sometimes.
knowing it and doing it are two
Yeah,
different things, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
But I came back from France and I just said, actually, Derek Mine was at the club teaching, and I pulled him aside. I said, Derek, you know, this was amazing. This was so much fun. I had the best time of my life. I shot terribly, but I had so much fun, but I'm missing something. What am I missing? And he
Right.
had me explain what I was doing. And he started talking about, well, you were probably behind, because he started talking about insertion. And I said, what's insertion? I didn't even know what insertion
Right.
was. But it was I was back to the whole break point kind of
Sure.
day. And so he went through that whole thing. And then I was telling Henry, and he goes, yep, I know who you need to go talk to. So
Yeah.
learned a whole different way of shooting. So
Yeah.
I have literally built myself back up from bad habits and things I'd learned that don't work. Sadly, I'm not 30. I'm anymore. And so, but because of that drive I have, I was prepared to do whatever it took
Yeah.
to figure it out, to go compete and still have a good time. You can't go to Europe and not have a good time. No
Yeah.
matter how you shoot.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun. But it was really more of a, how do I get into a cage and know that anything I see I can tackle, I
Yeah.
can handle, I can understand. And as you know, working with Will, he is very black and white, and he is, this is how you do it. These are the steps. And you always go back to basics. No matter what the target is, you go back to basics if you're feeling a little anxious. And, it really does work. It
Yeah.
really, really does work.
100%. And, so going back to the basics and solely focusing on those, I mean, what I'm hearing you say is that has provided you with confidence no matter where in the world you're shooting. You just get totally enthralled in that process and just follow those steps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's why we have a coach. That's why I need adult supervision. I don't know any.
Yeah.
Left to
That's a
my own devices, it would get pretty bad.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I think we all need some of that supervision and the pep talks and post talks and pre talks and all of those things. And Will has filled that role for you and I and so many other people
Yes.
in that. But I mean, I think it's a rare individual that can achieve a high level of success without having some guidance along the way. And I think that's the importance of really selecting a coach that you resonate with. I mean, some of the things that Will has told me and, doing the first Carlisle clinic and stuff,
Yeah.
I often think back on it and I wonder, like, would I have ever figured that out on my own? Like, would that have ever, my brain taken that path to that? And most of the answer is no. No, I don't
Correct.
think I ever would. And,
I
so
agree.
that's fast tracked my progress tremendously. And, it sounds like it has yours as well.
Sure. And also, I mean, he is the only coach, maybe Anthony Matarese, but he's the only coach that I know of for sure that surrounds himself with this team of professionals that help all of us. I mean, we can call Dr. Colo, we can call Jim Greenwood. I have a stock, I'm off dominant, which means I'm almost central dominant, but more to the right side of my nose, all these things. And, Will got Dr. Colo to work with me to make sure that my eyesight was great, that my glasses were perfect. Then they collaborated with Jim Greenwood on my stock. And Jim made the stock so that it fit where my dominance was. And Will figured it out because I had tennis elbow. And
Mm.
so I was canting the gun so that I was looking down, down the rib, but the rib wasn't straight. I was moving it. I was tilting it over to the left so that I
Yeah.
could get it. And now I stick my gun up. It's totally straight. Jim did all the things, and it's perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's just so nice that he uses those guys along with, his sponsors, Ranger and Krieghoff, and just the whole package is really, really perfect.
Yeah. The whole package is a great description. I was talking to Will and I said, Will, what if somebody asked me this? What if somebody asked me that? He goes, you don't need to know all the answers. He goes, you just need to know the person that does and then make a phone call. Right. So, Colo being a phone a friend and, Jim with the stocks and I mean, everything, you're right. It's such a great support network that we have going on. And,
Yeah.
it is fantastic with that. And so you mentioned, guns. So I know that you were previously shooting a different manufacturer's gun, and now you have switched to a Krieghoff. So
Yes.
how are you enjoying that?
I, I, it was quite a journey. Um, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. And thankfully, it was a very easy switch. It
Good.
was, yeah. Now, the barrels are light. I've got a Greenwood stock on it, and it's it's as though I had been shooting it forever and ever and ever. So
Wow.
yeah, it's fantastic. And then of course I went to nationals. Then Wellesley Hargrove, I don't know if you know Wells.
I do.
Anyway, he had a gun for he had a K20 for sale, and I was like, I've always wanted one of those too. So I went from no Krieghoffs to two Krieghoffs with 28 gauge barrels for both the K80 and the K20. It was quite a Christmas and birthday for me in
Wow.
December, but I am delighted. Yeah, thanks to Alex at Krieghoff for making that happen, and Mike Luongo and Will Fennell for getting my K80 so quickly, because I couldn't keep my other guns running. I had two of the other gun, and I just couldn't keep them running. And I finally, I was out practicing, and I mean, it was the second shot of my practice, and my gun broke again. And
Oh,
I just sat on the bench and said, I can't do this anymore. I just
no.
can't do it anymore. And it's just in my head, it's so much money, which I had already committed for the other guns. But, it's also back to I'm not 30, right? And so how long is it going to take me to transition to another gun?
Right.
There was a lot of fear in that. So, but again, once again, I kind of jumped into the deep end and said, let's do it. We got to do
Yeah.
this. And thankfully, because of where I live, I just go out into the backyard and fill my Polaris up with ammunition, and I go work that. And,
Yeah.
and not very many people can say that, but it has certainly helped me um, persevere, through some times that I've through the change of through the change of equipment and all that, I just get after it and just shoot a bunch and just get used to it and get on with it.
Yeah. And I know the previous gun situation was a major source of frustration for you for many reasons, but I can't
Yeah.
imagine having the doubt in the back of your mind, if you're overseas or where it doesn't matter if you're in the backyard, that is this going to break? Is this going to,
Oh
come
yeah.
apart? And that I just don't think you can perform that way. So I'm happy to hear that you really feel at ease with everything and everything's just grooving. That's great.
Yeah. And Krieghoff is everywhere. Thank God.
Yeah.
Most of the major shoots, they're there, and definitely overseas, they're there. And so that's a lot of peace of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think what helped me in my transition from my previous gun to my parkour was Jim's stock. Jim just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that thing was just built for me. When he bestowed the stock upon me and said, I
Yeah.
did my job, you do yours.
Yeah.
Man, it just is a seamless transition.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's
It really
amazing.
is. Yeah,
It
he
is.
is a master craftsman, no doubt.
He is. And a wonderful
Yeah.
man.
Yes, he is. Yeah, think the world of Jim. And you mentioned that shooters, everybody goes through struggles and journey and all those things, but perseverance. You seem like a very determined person, and we all get frustrated at times with this. But what's kept you pushing through, to achieve your goals? And just keeps you moving. What's your carrot on the string?
Attitude and effort. I think you really have to have a good attitude no matter what. And I don't always. And I work really, really hard. I work hard at trying to stay in shape physically and mentally. And that's not easy, especially as much as we travel. And I don't know. I'm just a really fierce competitor on the inside. I just thrive on it. I love it so much. But I played sports growing up. So I can't even believe I get to do this as a grandmother. I mean, it's just the coolest thing ever. And I mean, it gets me up in the morning and dressed and out the door with a gun and a case of ammo. And I'm just gonna keep working and working and working. 'Cause I know it's crazy, but I guess I just have a lot of grit.
Well, I think that that grit and determination, if you ask that same question to most of the, top competitors in the game, I mean, that's what keeps them moving. It's the old, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. And, this is just audio, but you and I have video, and your shirt says "Eat, Sleep, and Shoot."
Yeah.
Playlab. So that's pretty fitting with the statements you just made. And
Paying homage to Jeremy. Yeah.
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 But I think what people need to hear as well is, there's going to be rough weekends. There's going to be, shoots that don't go your way. There's going to be circumstances that are not favorable. But you only have control over pretty much the things that you said, right? I mean, you have control over your attitude, you have control over your perseverance. And so if you were going to enlighten a younger shooter about keeping their positive attitude throughout the round, I mean, let's face it, it's an emotional roller coaster. So, I mean, how do you keep yourself mentally positive when, say, you're coming off a station you may have just struggled on?
I have found that walking helps a lot. We are so covered up with Polarises and smart cars and golf carts and all the things. And when I went to England for the first time, they don't allow any of that. And we walk everywhere. And through that process, I just thought, this is really good for my brain. This is really good for me just to step back and not listen to a motor and, you know, kind of process, do a post shot, if you will. Just a quick post shot, keep going, walking to the next station and leave it behind. You just have to leave it behind, And no matter how poorly I have shot, and I have shot poorly, there is always something, some takeaway that keeps me coming back. For example, let's say I worked on rabbits and maybe I didn't hit anything but rabbits that day, but by golly, I hit every single rabbit. There is a funny story about that, by the way. Which I'll tell you the story in abridged version, and Jeremy can edit it if he wants to, but I'll tell you the funny story. So I said, I called Will, I said, I need something to work on. I'm just sort of run out of things. I'm a little bored. He said, well, go shoot 20 rabbits in a row. I was like, okay. And he goes, no. if you drop one, you have to start over. So I was out there. I filled the rabbit trap 3 times. Went through a case and through a case and a half of ammo and shot until dark until I finally hit 20 rabbits in a row. And let me tell you, I got to 18 twice.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I wanted to kill him.
Uh,
But we got to nationals. I did not miss one rabbit at nationals. And I rarely miss rabbits now,
wow.
probably because of that. So anyway, but going back, that was my
That's a lot of rabbits.
there were a lot of rabbits. Yeah, about the 3rd time I refilled that trap, I was not a happy girl. But anyway, there's always a good takeaway. I really believe in having a list because the list keeps you on track for practice, and your competition is you, right? Like, we get in our own way all the time. And if we just keep working the process and have a good practice routine, whatever that is, it will come. You know, you and I talked about that on Monday. We get so caught up in the podium or the score or the outcome. And you just really have to go with the process, make the process better, and take, just the little gold nuggets out of a bad day and build on those.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's an attitude of gratitude, right? I mean, we get to do what we love to do. And, even at the worst day, right, it's not all that bad. But if you don't take that pause and find that good, I jokingly told a student the other day that, sometimes your entry fees into the tournament are just tuition, right? And let's face it, education's expensive. And, a lot of times, my attitude is, I can go to a tournament, I can win, or I can learn, right?
Exactly.
I learn a lot.
100%.
And
100%.
but if you don't have that drive or that love for the game, yeah, it's going to eat you up. The targets are getting harder and harder, right? That's a highly debated topic for another time, but it is what it is. And, that has to push us to get better on that stuff.
Yeah.
And, but I think, I hear people getting frustrated. I get a lot of Monday morning phone calls as well. And I think that, expectation management, going there and, I told a student today, as bad as he wanted to break the target and he wanted to break it bad, the desire to execute the process has to override the desire to break the bird.
Yes.
And we hear that and we know that, but until we buy into that, we're going to struggle, with it. And knowing what to do and then executing is 2 different things, but you gotta want to run the program. You have to run the program.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know if I told you this or not, but one of the things I go back to when the wheels start to fall off is what you've always said is just one target at a time. Just one target at a time. And that's a really good reset for me. It's very good. Even in the middle of, the 3rd pair, here I go. Let's just go to the next one and forget the other 2.
Yeah.
Let's execute this better. So.
Yeah. And I think, the most important target is obviously the one that's right in front of you. But that ties into, where a performance can happen. So if you reflect back on some of the best shots that you've ever made, right? It's just been you and the clay, right? The zone, right? It's just life, the clay seems to be at half speed and you're just totally present in that moment. And like you said, if you have that bad station and you haven't walked it off or you haven't shook it off, mentally you're in the past, right? And you're dwelling on that.
Yeah.
And that's like a 5-pound weight in your vest that you're going to carry with you, every time. And it's going to crush you by the end of the round. And then the inverse is your future outcome. You're thinking about, the outcome, and you're not going to perform there either. So
Right.
that one bird at a time mindset, it is good. If you can subscribe to that and harness that and stay in that moment, you'll crush them.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And
And,
I
and
think,
always
go
look
ahead.
for and always look for the positives. There's always a positive. You don't have a 1 to 4 day tournament and something positive isn't out there. And it may be you just met a new friend who you can train with, or it may be you found out that, you know what, I had a turkey sandwich for lunch and I can't have a turkey sandwich. And because whatever it is, there's always a positive, whether it's, what I worked on this week, I did really well, or I've met a new friend I can train with, or always try to find the positive out of what we do, because it's just too fun a sport to make it not fun just because you missed.
That's right.
There are too many good people. We have too much fun. It's serious to some of us, and it is a lifestyle. It is my hobby, and it is has become a lifestyle. But I love seeing the kids like a Kayla Wilgus, who's so great. But then she's playing basketball and volleyball at home. She's doing other things. This hasn't completely overwhelmed her life. She's got other things going on. So it's not all encompassing. And I think that's really important for the young people in the sport to understand, is that just have it be part of your life. Don't have it consume every bit of it, because there's so much more to see and do, and this is just part of it.
Yeah. And going to the shoots and seeing different places and all of that, that really is the victory.
Yeah.
That is, you have to enjoy the journey. And if you just solely focus on the outcome and measure yourself that way, you're robbing yourself of those experiences. And, and the kids, right? Kids got to be kids. They still got to do all the kid things.
They do. It's important. You got to do all the kid things.
Yeah.
Trust
Yeah.
me. Trust me. Yeah. I feel like that's
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Yes, no doubt. Well, you mentioned, and I wanted to go back, you said turkey sandwich, so maybe it's just that I'm hungry. I have found it shoots, nutrition and not crashing mid-round. It's wild, but you have to, you're not at home, right? Unless you go grocery shopping, pack yourself a lunch. I mean, you can hit the concession stands around the courses, but I'm not sure Nutter Butters and, apples are enough. But what have you found that works for you? Because I've really started thinking about, my nutrition, during the round. Hydration's kind of like a no-brainer,
Yeah.
but nutrition's a little more slippery for me. What do you do?
We live on Pedialyte, the Pedialyte packets. I have found Core Power. You can find it at any grocery store. They've started selling it at QT too, apparently. And it's 26 grams of protein. They have chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. And I live on that, Pedialyte, and usually have bananas. And that's pretty much it. I would rather shoot hungry, a little bit hungry, than, and I don't, I don't eat flour. So that gets really fun at shoots, because everybody's got pulled pork sandwiches and this sandwich and that pizza. And so, so I have learned to bring my own food anyway. But the Core Power, if you can keep it cold, 26 grams of protein all day long, and a banana. So so far, that's really what's worked, because I typically cannot eat the food at the shoots. God bless Melanie Parker for that.
How about her, right?
Well, yeah.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie. Oh my goodness. She is that chicken salad with fruit. And I'm like, I'm in.
Yes.
Just
sign me up.
Set one aside for me. I'm coming for it.
Yeah.
So, but it's true. There's just, I mean, shoot tournament cuisine is kind of an oxymoron, right? I mean, it's just, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not wrong in that. But I have found that, part of putting what I would call a good performance together is staying kind of level throughout that round, right? Blood sugar can't crash. You can't be starving, but you don't want a full, Thanksgiving belly full of food either, right?
Right.
And
No.
that's kind of a balance, and I've really started packing, chicken breast and some
Yeah.
cashews and, eat some fruit along the way. And, I found that's helped more than I anticipated it would help.
Yes.
Because on the hydration side of it,
It's
definitely,
huge.
definitely got to do that.
No, it's huge for sure. Absolutely.
Well, and then in rest, new place, new hotel, new Airbnb, right?
Huh.
That's not optimal.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of this device called a Whoop, but you wear it on your wrist like a Fitbit, but you wear it on the opposite wrist of your watch and it tracks everything. And so I finally realized I didn't really want to spend all that money to have this device tell me that I was tired. I'm like, I know, I know
I
I'm
can
tired.
I can feel it.
I can feel it. I saw it all day. I didn't sleep well in a new hotel. The pillows were terrible. And
Yeah.
so, but it's part of it. It's just part of it. And
Yeah.
and that's kind of what makes it fun. I mean, I've been really tired and I've said I got to go practice when I'm really tired. I got to go practice when I'm really hungry. I need to go practice when it's raining. You've got to just put yourself in any kind of situation so that when it comes up in a tournament, you face it in practice and it's kind of in your wheelhouse, if you will. It's like it's not scary. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Just, working through that adversity and everything and, having that mental toughness. Because I mean, your practice days, if you've designated that's the day to practice and it's 30-mile-an-hour winds, you're going to shoot in 30-mile-an-hour winds at some point. So you better figure out how to
yes.
do it. And
Yeah, we definitely have those down here.
oh, I bet there's not much to slow the winds there.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so what, we got 2025 shooting season is upon us. What are some of your goals for the year, and what are the steps that you're taking towards achieving those goals?
Um, Definitely, it's really for me, it starts with staying healthy and staying physically strong and mentally strong. Um, Obviously, it would be so much fun to podium somewhere, somehow, some way. Uh, and again, I have to go back and say, let's just do process. And that's so hard because you really want to bring a trophy home. It's sort of like, look what I finally did. That kind of feeling. I just love that feeling. But I also know how important it is to stay with the process. So I'm going to continue to refine my practice routine and never shoot a practice target. Well, never is it, that's not going to work, but be more intentional when shooting practice to really have a plan and a pre-shot every target. And that's really hard, but I've got some specific drills to help with consistency so I can wrap that planning and pre-shot into that. I think Will did a short video for Clay Lab on that stair drill.
Yes, that is
And
awesome,
so
isn't it?
Henry actually, full disclosure, Henry made that drill for me.
Oh, so we can all thank
So,
you for that one, huh?
so I'm busting Will a little bit on that, but Henry gave him his blessing. But the stair drill is huge for consistency. And because you have to have your plan and you have to have your pre-shot. And I start practice with that.
Mm,
And if it goes off the rails, it goes off the rails. I take 15 minutes and then I go do something else because you want practice to be positive. You
yeah.
don't want practice to be a drain or something. And sometimes you go out and I don't know if you've ever had this, that a target you've been working on and you're just shooting it beautifully on Tuesday, Wednesday, you go out to shoot it and you miss it 10 times in a row. And you're like,
No, I've never had that.
and you're like, what is happening? And you just kind of need to back away for a minute. Don't think anything. But yes, that has been, anyway, I digress. I have specific drills like that for the consistency. I shoot with a scorecard
Mm,
also for added pressure and go back to the stations where I had trouble. I don't try to fix it on each station. I'll just shoot 10 stations either on one course, or I'll do 3 charity, 3 intermediate, 3 tough, and then go back and work on why did I miss and that kind of thing. Um, and shoot more locally. I don't really shoot locally as much as I should, and I need to travel a little bit, go up to Travis's in Fort Worth, and Staccato Ranch just opened, which is about 2.5, 3 hours from us, and that's got some neat terrain similar to K-Cup terrain in San Antonio, and I think that will help me more, but really refining my practice so that my process gets better so that the outcome will be better, if that makes sense.
yeah. Well, it sounds like you're just being extremely intentional in your practice and,
Yeah.
sticking with that. And, that's an interesting point on if you just can't find the bird, right? There's a tipping point of should I stay here and put a flat down and just work it out, or is anything positive going to come from this, or am I just going to get frustrated and really just put this whole practice session,
Yeah.
in the tank?
Because it may not be that target. Like, you may be able to hit it the next day. It could be you had a bad day at school, you got a bad grade, you had an argument with your spouse, or you're worried about a sick parent, or you just have too many tabs open. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes you just can't shoot if you have too many tabs open. You just can't. And so
Yeah.
you just kind of need to, you know, take a minute and go read a book or something, and come
Right.
back an hour later and start over. And if it still doesn't work, just pack it up and do something else, come back the next day. But to keep it positive and not grind and grind and grind. I'm not big on grinding on a target you missed. I don't know that that really ultimately helps unless you have, as I call it, adult supervision, so that somebody's there to help you fix it. If you're alone, just make a note of it, come back the next day and go to another station, really.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. And after a while, um, I think we just start going through the motions on that target.
Yeah.
Like, the move, where it's broke, right? And I don't know if that is very productive after, say 6 or 8 in a row. It's kind of time to pull the card and move on. And
It is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So what shoots do you have next? What do you have coming up?
Let's see. Gator Cup. I don't even have let's see. I could probably go to,
So when you go to Gator, how much, this is a question I ask a lot of people, how many events in a day, if you really want to string a performance together, how do you fill your schedule? What are you 100 in a day? Are you 150? What are you doing to peak
r-
perform there?
right now, I'm just 100 a day. If
Yeah.
there's a 50 bird something, I may do that, like a 50 bird FITASC. I may do that. Um, but I do not shoot 200 birds in a day. It's a waste of my time and money. I don't have I just don't have the strength anymore, or the desire to be that competitive for that long.
Yeah.
Especially if they have new style feed tasks. You
That's the
shoot
drain.
100 of
Yep.
those. I don't need to shoot anything else that day.
Spent a lot
Um,
of mental gymnastics that day.
yeah. But, at nationals, I may shoot a K cup and then and then maybe the main, because that's only 66 birds. But
Mhm.
I rarely shoot 200, and I stay away from 8 a.m. as much as I
Ah,
can.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is
It's
that
just,
just you don't feel alert and woke up, or what?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a
Yeah.
morning girl. I'll be sitting down with a cup of coffee and, taking my time, and 8 o'clock, because you got to be feet on the ground 3 hours before you compete, right? So
Yeah.
that's 5
Exactly.
a.m. So that's 5 a.m. And then you're up and showered and it's still dark. And getting your eyeballs moving and moving around and getting to the club, and it's usually dark, and I'm much more motivated by 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's knowing yourself and knowing what it takes to put that together. And I'm sure you have discovered that over the years that
Yeah.
that's what it takes.
So you asked me earlier the shoots. I'm at Gator Cup, the U.S. Open, North American FITASC, the Shooters Championship at the Meadows, FITASC American Grand Prix, Eagles Nest, the Greenwood Invitational, Northeast Regional, the U.S. Grand Prix FITASC, North Central Regional, Western Regional, South Central Regional, Diamond Classic, Southeast Regional, and Nationals.
Dang.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm looking at a couple of those that I think I'm not going to go to just because it's too much travel. And I like being home some. It's easy, especially when you go to Europe in the middle of that. In July, we'll be in the UK and in Cyprus. And when you come home, you just want to be home and
Right.
to pack up and start all over again here. I've done that and it's hard for me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, that is a jam-packed schedule, no doubt. Do you have any shoots that you really look forward to every year or specific venues that you really enjoy going to?
I really like going to Europe.
Yeah. I'm picking up on that.
Yeah, I really do. It's just the targets are so good. The terrain is so great. I mean, I have just really, really enjoyed my experience over there. And again, it kind of keeps the fire burning inside of me because it's just so different that I want to make sure that I'm fit, ready to compete over there. Not that it's not important here,
Sure.
because obviously it is. Because I mean, I love going to M&M and shooting Anthony's targets, and I like going to Northbrook, and looking forward to going to the Meadows this year. Like I said, I always enjoy Seminole Cup because that's sort of my baseline.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's just the I think one of the struggles is having so many tournaments to shoot, and then you get to nationals, and it's almost you have to reset and have another set of goals just for nationals
Uh-huh.
because it's the end of the year and you're kind of tired. I mean, I am.
Yeah.
So, how do I get excited about that again?
That's right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, by the end of the year, I mean, as much as we love it, right? Things will
yeah.
wind down and then we need a little time off to
Yeah.
fuel that fire and keep moving. And
Yeah.
no, that's great. Well, I will see you at Gator. I'm very excited about going up there and I'm gonna shoot some FITASC and help Mike out a little bit, and it's gonna be a good time.
Yes. I love some FITASC.
Mm-hmm. You know, having coaching with Aniston, you know, equipment selection, shells. I know you have a shell that you really really enjoy. You know, what do you recommend for, giving some lady shooters advice on, picking the right shell, and, how did you find that one?
I think w- recoil matters. And so no recoil really matters and helps with recovery after a long day. So I shoot B&T competition 1 ounce 1160s, 7.5.
Got it.
So that's what I shoot. Bornagi does have a 7/8 ounce 1200 that's really light too, but I just don't think people can get them. The B&P ammunition people can get around the country, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah,
So,
I think sure. We talked about stamina and fatigue and everything. People overlook, oh, I can handle that recoil. I can do that. Sure you can. But how about Sunday afternoon, right? After you've
yeah.
shot since Wednesday or Thursday,
Yes. You get
that's
tired.
definitely. So yeah, the ammo really factors into fatigue, and definitely, people anticipate recoil. I see it all the time, and I think that our central nervous system isn't going to allow our body to cause an impact by surprise, right? I mean, it's self-preservation. Fall down and don't put your arms down to brace yourself. You can't do it. So over time, I do think we get there's a callousing effect to the recoil, but I see people definitely anticipate that, and I'm sure you do coaching as well. You just see that brace, you see that tightening because they know what's coming for them.
Yes, and actually, I experienced a little bit of it over Seminole Cup because I'd shoot fixed chokes, like on the sporting part of the events. I shoot some spreaders. It's something that's close, whether it be a rabbit or just a full face, 25-yard, whatever. And just to make sure, I was really tired one day after it was either super sporting or one of the mains. I had shot to a couple of boxes of them, and my body was tired because they're the Fiocchi crushers, so
Yeah.
they've got a little bit more of a pop, and it was fine while I was shooting, but I definitely felt it the next morning. I was like, oh,
Right.
that's what
Yeah.
that is.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I knew you shot, a lower recoil in shell. And I think, that a lot of people out there would definitely benefit from that. And
Absolutely.
cool.
Yes.
Well, I'm going down my list of talking points here, and I don't want to glaze over the fact that you have a Helice title with that. So tell me about the your Helice shooting.
Well, funnily enough, Helice shooting originally started when we bought the club, and a guy named Cyril Adams, who wrote a book called Lock, Stock, and Barrel, and was a very well-known pigeon shooter across the pond and in the U.S., built a Helice ring out here. It's still here, and he actually passed away in 2020. So he taught me how to shoot Helice. And fast forward to 2020, when COVID hit and there weren't a lot of tournaments going on, and I thought, well, there's a Helice ring right here in my backyard. I'll just go shoot with the guys that are coming out. So I practiced with them one day and shot 30 straight.
Beginner's luck, or
And it was funny. And so one of the guys now that runs the ring, and one of our members, Alan Shelfer, wonderful man, he told Cyril, I still have the email Cyril sent me, which is very dear to me. And he said, we're going to practice this, and I'm going to take you to the national championship in West Point, Mississippi. I'm like, okay. So anyway, we practiced, and we drove to West Point, Mississippi. And before we left, I remember vividly, I was sitting on the back porch at home, and I looked at Dan, and I said, I'm going to go win this. And I've never felt like that about anything in my life before that moment. I said, Cyril's dying, and I'm going to go bring the trophy home for Cyril.
wow.
So I got up there and I shot a 29 the first day, thank God, and won and beat the reigning world champion by one target to win the whole thing.
Holy cow.
Holy cow. I mean, I was crying. Alan was crying. It was crazy. And my dear friend, Henry Hopking, I called him because that is such a mental, you talk about pre-shot and mental and being ready and clearing your mind. And it was his birthday. And so it was even more special than that. And sure enough, I was never able to show Cyril the trophy because he passed away, within a month or two after that. He was really
wow.
but a dear, dear man and a great friend. And I'm so excited I was able to do that for him, and literally have not competed since.
Just took the title and I'm out.
I took the title and I'm out, but it's nice. I really do enjoy it. Sometimes the guys come out and shoot on Sunday mornings, and I'll wander out there and say, I'll shoot, 15 with you guys. And it's just really fun.
Yeah. Wow. What a
so
story. That's
it was great.
amazing.
It was great. But lots of fun. Yeah.
That's very cool. And it's for those of you out there listening that haven't shot Helice, it's the birds that, formerly known as ZZ or
ZZs.
ZZs. And, in sporting clays, you can chip the bird, right? And it counts, but you got to knock the witness cap out of these birds. And I'm telling you, you have got to hit them to get that cap out.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole different ball game.
Yes. And sometimes you hit it and it doesn't fall out. And then you're like, I better hit it again. So
yeah. Well,
yeah. It's tricky, but it's fun.
Yeah, it really is. And it seems to be gaining some traction. I know locally here, Cherokee Rose has a ring, and, it's growing across the nation for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, Laurie, I have really enjoyed having you on the show. More than anything, really enjoyed your friendship and our talks and everything. So I appreciate your time. I know you're extremely busy, and thank you for coming on the show this evening.
Well, thank you for having me. Say hi to your family.
You are welcome.
Okay.
You do the same.
All right. Thanks.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Laurie had a lot of insights into what has made her successful over the years. So hope you can get some tips from that. So don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. We want to continue to grow and provide you content for this. So everybody take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us. Remember to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform to The Clay Lab so you don't miss an episode. Check out MatsonShootingAcademy.com or reach out to Cody at MatsonShootingAcademy@gmail.com. Consider joining as a channel member too by clicking that join button below on YouTube for early access to videos and podcasts. We'll catch you here next time on the Matson Shooting Academy podcast.